CBS News Miami.
Good afternoon, and thank you so much for being with us. I'm Chelsea Jones, and welcome to the 4 p.m. Quickcast. Want to get a look now at today's top stories. Well, first at 4, the man accused of brutally beating a transgender woman to death is now facing an even more serious charge. Gregory Gibbert is now being charged with first-degree murder after initially facing a second-degree murder charge. He remains held with no bond. Police say the 53-year-old spotted this woman you see on your screen, Andrea Dos Passos, sleeping in front of a ballet company in Miami Beach Tuesday morning. At one point, Gibbert walked away, came back with a metal pipe, and started beating her in the head with it. The brutal attack killed her, and according to her family, she was experiencing homelessness. Gibbert was eventually tracked down and arrested. CBS News Miami's Peter Dinch will sit down with the victim's mother. You can look for that interview tonight at 5. Supermodel Gisele Bündchen seen crying after being pulled over by police. This happened in Surfside this morning. This is body camera videos showing the supermodel breaking down while talking to an officer who stopped her for a traffic infraction. Our news partners at the Herald do report that the model said at one point she was staying away from someone who was stalking her. Right now, it's unclear if Bündchen has filed a police report.
Always alerting, always tracking. This is Next Weather.
Well, another mostly sunny and dry, beautiful day across South Florida as we inch closer to that weekend. Thank God. Next weather meteorologist Cindy Purcell here. And Cindy, that pattern's going to carry us through the weekend.
Yes, we're not going to break this trend now. Nope. And actually, this is going to take us through the weekend and into next week. There just isn't anything that's going to push this ridge aside, not for the time being. So 80 degrees. High today, though, this afternoon reached 83. And again, we've got that strong easterly wind, humidity and everything. Dew point, that's the amount of moisture in the air that is all very low, so this dry air, that's going to stay put. So it feels good. You can breathe out there. You don't have the stickies, so this is what we're looking for. Dominant high pressure, so we stay dry. I really don't see any big rain chances out there. You could see a stray shower along the coast, and that would be about it. Temperatures are going to stay below normal. That's great. We don't have any hot stuff coming. Breezy to windy this weekend. We could see some wind gusts up to 30, maybe 35 miles per hour. That's a possibility. So again, you might want to get anything that you have on the balcony right now. You might want to get that in by the weekend on the lanai, because things can blow around. If it's not secure, it could blow around. All this dry air just keeps on coming, so we're going to see the same pattern day after day. The humidity comes up only slightly this weekend, but we still stay in that comfortable range, so we're not going to see big changes temperature-wise either. Look at this. Almost 82 every single day. Dropped it down on Monday to 81 degrees, but really temperatures in the lower 80s is about perfect. We're going to take that because in about 3 weeks, less than 3 weeks, the pattern is going to shift to the rainy season, and then you'll start to see that moisture and that humidity come back. But winds, that'll be the big story this weekend. This evening they will drop down, and on Friday, look at this, 20 to 25 mile per hour winds again out of the east. But Saturday and Sunday, this is when they really kick in. We could see 25 to 35 mile per hour gusts. That's something to keep in mind. All of this onshore wind continues to come in. Sunday is going to be windy as well. It's because of that ridge of high pressure is so strong, nothing really going to move it out. So breezy to windy, dry conditions. And again, a stray shower, not out of the question, but not likely. This is not going to be anything that brings measurable rainfall. High pressure sitting out there in the Atlantic, extending right across the Florida Peninsula, stays put. This evening we have the corporate run. Everything is looking great for that. We should have clear skies, temperatures comfortable, and your forecast will continue to go on and on with lots of sunshine. Wind, though, with highs in the lower 80s.
Okay, Cindy, thank you. Hialeah police have arrested the teenage driver involved in a crash that killed 2 women. The 15-year-old unlicensed driver took the family car without permission. Police say his car collided with another one carrying the women, and the crash happened just before 8 Tuesday night. Police now say that teen was going 83 miles per hour. The impact so strong, it sent the women's car through a fence. That teen is now facing several charges, including 2 counts of vehicular homicide. CBS News Miami's Yvonne Taylor spoke with the family of those women. You can look for that at 5. Well, this was caught on camera. Lauder Hill police say they arrested 2 men in connection with a shooting that killed a man back in February. Take a look at some of this newly released video from police. At the top of your screen, you can see a man with an assault-style rifle firing shots. The next images you see show an SUV speeding away. This happened in the 4500 block of North University Boulevard. 34-year-old Christopher Fletcher was killed. Now, during the investigation, detectives identified 2 men that they thought were involved. They issued arrest warrants, and police say 28-year-old DeMar Andrews and 20-year-old Jaheim Dixon were located in Sacramento, California, and they were arrested today. They are now awaiting extradition to South Florida. The U.S. Supreme Court heard arguments today over whether or not former President Donald Trump can be criminally prosecuted. CBS News' Miami's Skylar Henry explains the outcome could have major implications on the special counsel's 2020 election interference case, as well as for this year's election.
Protesters gathered outside the Supreme Court Thursday, where justices heard arguments about whether former President Donald Trump should be free from criminal prosecution, a claim he reiterated at a campaign stop in New York.
We have a big case today in the Supreme Court on presidential immunity. A president has to have immunity. If you don't have immunity, you just have a ceremonial president.
Trump's lawyers argued that a former president has immunity from prosecution when it comes to official acts during his tenure in office.
Without presidential immunity from criminal prosecution, there can be no presidency as we know it.
Some justices seem skeptical of that argument.
If the president decides that his rival is a corrupt person and he orders the military or orders someone to assassinate him, is that within his official acts that for which he can get immunity?
It would depend on the hypothetical.
In filings, the special counsel argues that instead of an official act, Trump was working to carry out a, quote, private scheme to remain in power by fraud.
Working with private lawyers and a private public relations advisor to gin up fraudulent slates of electors, that is not any part of a president's job.
The Supreme Court's decision will determine whether special counsel Jack Smith can try Trump for his alleged efforts to interfere with the 2020 election. 2 lower courts have already rejected Trump's claims of immunity, but legal experts say it's possible the Supreme Court will look for a middle ground.
They may not go the full distance that Trump is requesting, but they might be willing to recognize a more limited form of criminal immunity.
The Supreme Court's decision is expected by July. Skylar Henry, CBS News, the Supreme Court.
Well, Haiti Prime Minister Ariel Henry has officially resigned. Governing power has now been given to a transitional council that will attempt to gain control of the violence-ravaged nation. The new council must name a new prime minister and cabinet by February 7, 2026. The New York Court of Appeals has overturned Harvey Weinstein's sex crime convictions, and they've ordered a new trial. The disgraced Hollywood producer was convicted in 2020 of first-degree criminal sexual act and third-degree rape. He was sentenced to 23 years in prison. Now, according to the appeals court ruling, the trial court allowed testimony about prior alleged sexual acts that should have not been included. The 72-year-old, though, not a free man just yet. Last year, he was sentenced in Los Angeles to 16 years in prison for charges of rape and sexual assault. Another tense day of protests over Israel's war in Gaza. They are taking place on campuses across the country. Hundreds of people have been arrested in Massachusetts, Texas, and even California. CBS News' Nancy Chen has more on the calls for action from Columbia University.
Overnight, chaos erupted as police tried to break up a pro-Palestinian encampment at Emerson College in Boston as the latest flashpoint in a growing movement at campuses nationwide protesting Israel's war in Gaza. On Wednesday, demonstrators clashed with school security at USC in Los Angeles after school police ordered students to move their encampment.
Both sides of my family were displaced from Palestine, and I'm here using my voice because my grandparents couldn't.
By nighttime, police shut the gates to the school and pushed pro-Palestinian protesters out. Also on Wednesday, hundreds gathered at the University of Texas at Austin, where they were met with a show of force as well. In New York, Republican House Speaker Mike Johnson was interrupted by loud booing during his visit to Columbia University, the epicenter of demonstrations calling for cutting all school financial ties to Israel. and amnesty for students punished for participating in protests. He claimed the university is being taken over by a radical and extreme ideology, citing several recent incidents of anti-Semitic language by protesters on and off campus.
I am here today joining my colleagues and calling on President Shafiq to resign if she cannot immediately bring order to this chaos.
The school says it's making progress in negotiations with demonstrators.
We need the National Guard, law enforcement, or someone to come in here and take control.
Are you calling for the National Guard to come here?
Desperate times call for desperate measures.
New York Governor Kathy Hochul accused Speaker Johnson of politicizing the protest by coming to campus and said she has no plans to call in the National Guard, at least for now. The university has set a deadline of midnight tonight for protesters to leave their encampments. Nancy Chen, CBS News, New York.
Well, 18,000 runners and walkers are flocking to Bayfront Park for the annual Lexus Corporate Run, and it will impact your commute. So we'll tell you how to avoid the traffic troubles when we come back. Well, welcome back to CBS News Miami's 4 p.m. Quickcast. Thousands of people will be hitting the streets of downtown Miami for the Lexus Corporate Run, and the run gets underway in front of Bayfront Park. Street closures began at 1 p.m., so let's give you a look at the route. The biggest trouble spots may be on Biscayne Blvd. Northbound traffic will be rerouted to the two southbound lanes at Southeast 1st Street. Traffic will also merge into 2 lanes of traffic at Northeast 6th Street. These closures will last until about 11 p.m. tonight. And also happening tonight, the NFL Draft kicks off. Tens of thousands of NFL fans are in Detroit for the 89th annual NFL Draft. The 3-day event starts tonight at 8, where future NFL stars will officially be drafted into the league. The Dolphins do have the 21st overall pick in tonight's first round. And we've got you covered on all things NFL Draft. Our team of reporters are walking you through the process from start to finish in an hour-long special happening tonight at 7, and we'll wrap it up Saturday at 7:30. That'll do it for your CBS Miami Quickcast. I'm Chelsea Jones. Stay tuned for more news starting at 5 here on CBS News Miami.